All right, going live. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be diving right into building here. Hey there, Wyoming. How you doing? Not watching a game tonight, actually. I just got an episode of Seinfeld on as just a mild distraction. I've been thinking about all the things I need to do to kind of make this a better live streaming setup. I've been making the minor changes. I really am not a fan of the background of my video, so kind of while I'm doing this, I'm a little bit lost in thought as to like what I'd like to do to kind of make things better, a little bit more live streamy. So whatever that means. So sorry if I'm thinking instead of talking. But yeah, I wish there was a game on, but my team is traveling today, so. And I will say that the games that were played over the past couple days could have gone better. Unfortunately, they did not. I'm really excited to get back into building this castle, though, after the weekend. And I have to say that the thing that I have been building is really, really cool. There's a green screen with the theme of the stream. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my background in terms of, like, I'd like to keep the background, but the problem is some of the things I've tried are overly noisy, like auditorily. I'll actually show you. See if I can find it. I'll go over real quick and show what I have been doing. So I got, let me see if I got the remote for it somewhere. Here it is. I think this is the remote. So I'd had some thought that I would have, and I don't know how bad it is in the background, but you can kind of hear it. It sounds loud to me, so I have to assume everyone can hear it. Over my audio here. Zoom this in a little bit. So, if I pan a little bit over here, I have this fan thing that, has like a 3D LED kind of effect that I was doing some of the Lego Ghosts on from the Hidden Side series. And I had like a whole display set up, but the fan is just so loud. You can barely hear it, really. It's super loud to me. And maybe that's the advantage of this microphone. It definitely sounds like a lot of background noise to me, but if it's barely even in, then that's not a bad thing. And I might spend time doing it. I had a great little display set up. And it's just in the background. Let me see what I can do. I actually had this other thought earlier. I need to find the right cable for it. Too many cables. Not the right things. Somewhere amongst all the stuff as I was messing around with this is this. This actually gives me a slight advantage now, because I can actually do a dual camera setup, which I wasn't able to do before. And if I go back to my building Lego, I have this switcher that allows me, in theory, to do this. So I can go to a second camera, so I can show around a bit, a little bit easier. So this was my setup that I had. Which, of course, it doesn't really work when the frames are off, and that's the other disadvantage of these little LED things. You have to have a certain shutter speed for it to work. It looks great on the webcam. But yeah, it's this kind of 3D ghost effect from the Lego Hidden Side that I was working on. I kind of figured it'd be a fun display. But it doesn't really work all that well in the background as much. Well, it's good to know it's barely there. Maybe there's something I can do with messing with the audio to make it better. But I'm going to turn it off for now. It's a lot louder than you'd think in this room. It's loud enough that it would be hard to think. I am going to try to use this odd ceiling architectural feature. Sorry, right up here. How am I doing this? Right here, this weird thing. And I think I'm going to run some lights around the corners to kind of give the background a bit more color. And I moved my my Lego Slave 1 back where that fan was, and with a little color changing LED thing. I think that looks better. I just think that the this video that I'll get off my primary webcam is just kind of mediocre, and it needs to be lit up a bit better and displayed a bit better. So That's a thing. When I take vacation in a couple weeks, I'm actually not going anywhere. I'm just going to be spending time at home, and that's probably something I'm going to do is try to make this space a little bit better. And I also have to organize it because I have boxes everywhere right now. So organization is totally necessary. Yeah, I don't know if it's. I mean, sound baffling maybe. The problem is it's just this is a fairly tight space, and that fan is very loud. It makes a it doesn't make the same whirring sound that you would expect like a standard fan to make because the blades on this thing are thick, so it kind of makes a rapid thumping sound. Like it's enough displacement of the air that it's not a hum. It's like a constant, throb type sound. It's kind of hard to describe, honestly. So I don't know. I ended up not being happy with the setup once I did it, and I thought, I'll figure out something better. And likely it's just going to be that display of the Slave 1. I think it looks better. I have to step around a cat, too. So, yeah, pressure wave directed at me. So I think that Slave 1 in the background ultimately looks better. I'll go back to the handheld camera here. I think that the color behind it kind of makes it look pretty neat. So I'll probably stick with that for now and maybe do something similar. I might even try to attach that light to like the back of the stand so you don't even see the light on the table and instead it glows off the back of the display or something. But yeah, I got way too many boxes up here because I've been putting things into storage, investment kits and whatnot into storage and reorganizing and compacting as much as I can. So yeah, and the pressure wave effect, the best way I can describe it is I used to have, it's not a great description, I used to have a Scion XB, that really blocky looking van, which is a great little car for so many reasons. But it had this really awful, what I will call feature, which is whenever you that's weird. Whenever you opened up the window of the vehicle, the back window specifically, it would make this pressure wave kind of thromping sound, and it was just awful. So there's just something about it. It's just not ideal. So I think I'm going to abandon that concept for this space at least and do something else. I see there's red one. And I think I'm just going to stick with the Lego display for now. Realistically, I think for me to pursue the Lego hobby too much longer, I'm going to have to get better, more available space or start putting things into storage. 14-year-old says that your room looks like the place you hide things from the kids and they go there to die and be forgotten. That's exactly what this room was for a while. This was for a very long time our set and forget room. Mostly for the same reasons that it's often not super comfortable to be up in here, which is the temperature. But yeah, I decided to reclaim the space when we basically when we bought the house. We, you know, just kind of put stuff up here, and it just kind of became that hoarders type area. That later on I discovered that we had a lot more attic space than I'd originally thought. So I went through and put everything into storage and really cleaned out this space. And there was a bed. This was actually being treated as a bedroom, but I can't imagine asking anyone to sleep up here because it wouldn't be very comfortable. At least not in the summer. And so I just cleared everything out, and I even moved the mattress off the bed and used it as a display table, a really large display table for Lego. And I expanded my Lego collection up here as opposed to downstairs in my office space where I had shelves put up. And so a lot of the shelves downstairs still hold a lot of Lego, but they hold a lot of my other trinkets, pop culture things, whatever, so statues and whatnot. I just hope to one day be able to have a much, much larger unallocated space where I could put all my Legos on full display. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I like this space. It just isn't good in terms of having a lot of space itself. I think it's good for this live stream setup, though. You would invite your sister-in-law to sleep in a room like that. There you go. I think you've mentioned your in-laws before. Yeah, no, we actually have another guest room that's in our basement. And it is, it has the room itself has no windows. We call it the Bat Cave. But it's a much more comfortable room because it's much easier to kind of keep an even temperature with it being underground and all of that and no windows. And we, when we redid our downstairs about a year and a half ago, after we had a flood, which we've had many these days, we ended up redoing it, and we decided to go ahead last summer and redo. I say decided, I think it kind of died on us, but we redid our entire HVAC for the house, and that was that allowed us to repipe air in the downstairs space, where when it had been converted from a full basement to kind of a livable space, they didn't. So that is now a much more comfortable room for people to stay in, and it's directly adjacent to my library space, which means that they have access to books and the entertainment space. We actually had during a recent family event, we had some people stay over here in that room, and they ended up being able to stay up, watch movies on our TV in that space down there. And it's basically, with the exception of a kitchen, it's basically its own livable space. So, kind of nice. It's a cool little water wheel that I'm building here. What I was going to say as well is, in order to offset the fact that I'm doing a medieval thing out of Lego, the thing that I'm building when I'm not on the stream is a Lego knockoff. So not an official Lego thing, but it's like a licensed set from a Chinese movie called The Wandering Earth, which is like a sci-fi movie. And it's this giant, like, mega truck, very futuristic looking, a lot of really interesting angles and whatnot. and it's just really slick. It's a huge build. I mean, I knew it was gonna be big, but much bigger than I would have expected. I'll pull a picture of it up. The thing is absolutely massive. If I can find a picture of it. Easily available. Alright, I can pull this over. I'll do the Lego screen share. It's this massive thing. Yeah. And to give you the idea of the scale of it, one of these minifigures is about half the height of one of those wheels. So if you were to kind of stack two minifigures, that would be about the size of the wheel, roughly. Thing is enormous. But it's a really, really great build. It's been a lot of fun to put together. So that's kind of what I've been doing over the weekend. And, usually when I get off the stream, if I'm still wanting to build something at that point, I might go mess with it some as well. And then I'll poke along at it here and there. But for the most part, it sits until the weekend, the nights of the weekend, where I can spend a couple hours like I do building this Lego castle. So, anyway, I'll get back to the instructions here. Looks like it'd be great for tabletop miniatures. Yeah, it's actually got me interested in seeing the movie itself, that's for sure. I mean, I bought it based purely on the visuals of the thing. Like, it just looked visually impressive, and I thought that would be... just looking at it, I thought that'd be a ton of fun to build. The movie itself is on Netflix. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. But I probably will, just because it looks so interesting. Kind of a sci-fi action movie, from what I can tell. Post-apocalyptic sci-fi action movie, which is... And it kind of looks like the truck version of Snowpiercer. In terms of kind of what's supposed to be going on in the world, in the universe of that movie. This is where all the things come together to make a functioning water wheel that will turn this millstone. And that's going to be pretty cool. Have it on my to-do list at some point in the not too distant future to go get one extra minifigure for this castle as well. I feel like it needs a king, not just a queen, so I have to go get one. Seems like a bad thing to exclude, but after all, they give you so many minifigures, but they'll be lacking that one. Alright. There is my water wheel assembly. Power of this water wheel is immense. It will be perfect to turn the millstone. So yeah, that sits. This just sits right in this groove here. Just like this. And locks in. And I'm pretty sure I'll build around it so it holds it in place. But as the water pushes through, it turns that millstone. Pretty simple mechanism, but makes it pretty awesome. Finding the Chinese knockoff kind of official Lego sets has become one of my new obsessions, because they really are pretty awesome. It's one thing when they're basically stealing ideas from people, who are using Lego to build something, and they take the instructions and they make it and resell it in kind of what is a theft of intellectual property. But more and more those companies seem to be moving away from that way of doing things and designing really interesting items. And like I said, when they start getting a hold of actual IPs and licenses in a legal manner, one where they aren't having to steal it, like that Godzilla and like this Wandering Earth one, it's really cool. Like I feel like those are actually a better product. And the quality of those bricks are, for the most part, surprisingly good. I would say that their stickers and their decals leave a lot to be desired, as do their sometimes their building instructions and color choice. But with all that said, I still feel like they, when they're actually doing it properly, they're actually creating a pretty competitive product. How big will this castle be? This castle is going to be really big. Like, very, very, very big. If we compare it to Lego 90th Castle versus 3-in-1, somewhere there should be a picture of it side by side with that other one that I built. And I have seen that picture. I just need to find it. Yeah, here we go. I'll pull this over. This is one of the better Lego blogs out there, so... Oh, it didn't pull over. Here we go. So if you remember the 3-in-1 that I built, why is everything trying to get highlighted here? See if this one shows up a little bit better. Yeah, here you go. So if you look at this castle on the far left, that's what we're going to be building. And if you look at the castles directly next to it, that's the 3-in-1 castle that we built on stream. But the difference is, and the thing that's a little bit tricky about this, is that you're actually missing the depth of it, because this castle I'm building goes a lot further back. It goes about as far back as it is wide in this shot. So it's actually a much, much larger set, by like nearly 4 times as much or whatever. Let's see, the Lego 3-in-1 castle. It might just be twice the size, but it feels much more immense. The Lego 3-in-1 castle is $100, and it's 1,400 pieces. So this is probably a little shy of 3 times the size in terms of piece count. But I think in terms of real estate, it's probably it's going to feel like 4 times. It's going to be really big. But it seems very worth it. So far, this has been a very fun build because each section is certainly unique. And that is always a good thing when you're building a set like this, having multiple different kind of things that you're building, and it never gets boring. You're never repeating yourself. It's kind of the worst thing that can happen is when you're starting to just repeat over and over and over again the same set of instructions. That Wandering Earth vehicle has a lot of that because it's partially it's a symmetric vehicle, but only partially. But it's got a lot of like segments to it that are duplicated or repeated, so you end up building roughly the same thing like 4, 5, 6 times in a row. The good news, though, or the way it works, is that it's varied enough that you move on to the next thing quickly enough. So it's been a fun build, and it's gorgeous thus far putting it together. I only have 1 bag left on it, so on the big one, and I've already purchased the other ones. There's 2 other big trucks that are similar, like from the similar movie, similar kind of interesting design, but they're radically different. This one was so much fun to build, I went ahead and bought those. And there's a couple of other little one-off sets that I, from the Wandering Earth series, basically, that I've gone ahead and tried to pick up. And they'll be shipped to me at some point after a long delay, as is the case usually. I need a shelf big enough for that castle. Yep, well, that's why I'm up here. That way I don't have to... That way it's a me problem and not a her problem. I seem to be missing exactly these 2 pieces. That's kind of weird. Where is this bag that I just opened? What did I do with it? I didn't leave any pieces in here, did I? Didn't think so. That's weird. Oh wait, no, they're right there. I'd already grabbed them, and they looked like a single piece. Yeah, I've already gotten some ridiculous sets as well. Over the summer, when I wasn't doing the stream, my other... So I basically have 3 kind of things that Lego could always sell me on. Like, always. If they make a set within a couple of certain themes, I will almost inevitably buy it just on the basis of the theme. City things in general, but more specifically the modular buildings is one of them. Because the way they go together and the interesting way that you build them and the kind of unique architecture you're creating is awesome, and I enjoy building those a lot. Castle things like this, 100% will capture my attention and get me wanting to build something. That doesn't seem right. Something is off here. And the last one would be the fairground type stuff, so like amusement rides and whatnot. And they have a lot of really cool roller coasters and I don't know, a lot of really interesting things that are all mechanical, all actually function. And those tend to draw me in as well a good bit. Oh, that's why I failed. That's why it wasn't working. So yeah, the Fairground series that Lego does, roller coasters and Ferris wheels and those types of things, I really enjoy. But I think part of that is because I actually have a deep fascination and interest with theme parks and amusement rides and how they function and the engineering behind them. Probably an unhealthy interest, because why should anyone be that interested in it if they don't actually just bother like working in that industry or something? But You know, there's a lot of people who like that type of thing, I guess. And the Lego fairground stuff, it kind of fits in with the city or the modern theme, so it works really well for me. Alright, so this segment is coming together. Last couple items going to be put on top, and there we go. I really like the modular nature of this, where everything I'm building kind of goes step by step. So this mill is definitely really cool. You have the millstone that turns, and sacks of wheat, and then bread in the other area. And they even have a little nest up in the granary area. So, pretty slick little segment. I like it. Make a landscape of the modern city and castle on the hill, towers by the harbor, etc. Well, I think my goal... So I think I'm going to call it my lifetime goal. Like, the thing that I will do way off in the future when I'm probably way too old to be this immature. And, sorry, forgive the noise. Get all this dumped out first. Oh, this caught my eye immediately. Check out all of these awesome shield prints. Got different types of shield prints that will... And this is the classic one. This was the very first Lego castle had that. It's pretty cool. My ultimate goal would be to get like... the best way I can put it is like flex space, like large open space, not quite warehouse, but the type of thing you'd have in like a retail space where it's just large open floor plan, and build out a big city display there as like a personal display. The problem is that like you're talking about space that you'd have to pay for, and where I live, I'm sure it would be prohibitively expensive to do that right now. And I got to be responsible and think about things like, you know, my kids and making sure that everything for them is taken care of. So the responsibilities trump the dream there in terms of ridiculous dreams that no one actually needs to have, but we have anyway. And I'd love to have that kind of flex space where I could really build it out. I think I would have sections. I'd actually have like a medieval section where I would have, you know, medieval villages and whatnot, but I wouldn't go too far into probably wouldn't go too far into that because the theme just isn't highly supported by Lego, and so I'd end up doing a lot of custom things from other creators. But there's a lot of them out there actually. The medieval theme in general, or medieval buildings, have a lot of support within the you know, the brick building community, basically. But if you've ever seen a large Lego city display anywhere, it's really quite impressive. Like the things that people can put together. You know, it's like looking at an actual city sometimes. It's got the same impressive nature to it where you can get a bit of an urban sprawl or whatever, and it just, you know, you populate it with a bunch of minifigures, and it can be really cool to look at. Kind of figured if I ever did get a giant flex space like that, again, the dream being the dream, I would end up probably setting aside a space to do as like video studio space and space for an armory as well. Reset up my armory in a way that works a lot better than trying to just co-opt a small space in my house. One of the things I will say is that I did actually have, or I have an opportunity, and we'll see how it works out when it happens. But there's already a company wanting to have me review a medieval themed Lego set. And it's not really a Lego, it's an off-brand, so a medieval themed brick set. But it's actually the design actually comes from the Lego community. They actually license the design, which means that the person who actually put together the design itself actually gets paid for their work in doing the design. And while it's not name brand Lego pieces, you know, you get to feel it's a little bit official in that, you know, you're not stealing from someone's intellectual property. They're getting paid for their work. The people molding the bricks, even if they're not Lego themselves, are, you know, getting paid to mold bricks, and everybody kind of wins there. And I've been asked to do a review of something that I won't speak too much about until it actually shows up and I get to do the review. So, but that was an interesting thing to happen relatively quickly to me getting back into the channel and spending time doing some of these streams, was getting someone to reach out to me about that. I've had, you know, surprising amount of that happen recently. You know, basically the moment I started thinking, oh, I should really get back into doing stuff on my channel, I get opportunities and things start happening, which is just pretty interesting. So hopefully that will help me to grow the channel over time again. Talked last stream about how in 2017 it was a really good year. Some of the crazy things that never came to fruition back then was I actually got contacted by a couple of TV shows that were medieval themed that were looking for hosts, and they were trying to determine if they wanted to get, I guess they were trying to determine if they wanted to get someone from the YouTube community to be representative there. I never heard back from them, so I assumed that I wasn't a good fit. I actually think I could probably guess as to what shows it was, but I'm not 100% sure because, of course, they don't tell you that type of thing. Yeah, it's been kind of those weird one-off opportunities, which are pretty cool, that have appeared every once in a while. And I think I had 2 television things like that. And one, they wanted me to go out to LA to do a, you know, casting type thing. And I told them no, because that was actually after I'd stopped my channel and my kids were around, and I wasn't going to abandon my wife and kids when my daughter was young. That was like right at, I think it was actually right as my wife was pregnant. Now I think about it, it would have been 2018, but right at the end of 2018, that all that happened. So I kind of declined that. But it is weird to have those types of things crop up every once in a while. Time is your enemy. Yep. Full time. Yeah. Yep. You know, family, church, etc. Yeah, but you know what? Those are the important things. Like, if I'm going to have to make decisions about what's going to go in my life, it's not going to be those other things. Family's going to be up there. Church is going to be up there. You know, job, obviously, be up there. But less so than church and family. You know, that pecking order. You're also in a unique position in Wyoming where your job is also your community. And that has its own kind of draw and impact that you have to, I'm sure you consider when you think about your work there. So I'm a realist when it comes to that. I know that, you know, my aspirations would be like the win the lottery type thing, not the most likely outcome. And it's really hard to win the lottery when you don't play it. So if ever there were a windfall and I were suddenly be blessed with a large quantity of money that, you know, I could do with as I pleased, that might be one thing that I would do. But even then, I would actually argue that I'm not certain that that's where the money would go. Much more important things out there. I think once I get this whole castle built on stream, and then I spend however long it takes me to do an actual video review of it and get the review posted to the channel, and maybe another couple of videos, I'll be ready to do some shameless self-promotion again. Try to get a large viewership. Thus far I have done almost none of that. I don't tweet out the new video anywhere. I don't do anything like that right now. So anyone who's coming across my channel or my videos right now are doing so purely organically at this point. This is a really, really beautiful architectural feature they're doing here that I would have never thought of. They have these little scrollwork pieces, and they're putting them up against these little rounded pieces to create the windows, or the framing of the windows, and it looks really nice. I'm always amazed at, like, so I don't have that kind of artistic brain that can allow me to, like, look at pieces and say, like, oh, if I put these things in this specific arrangement, I'll come up with this really creative, interesting design, basically. I'm very good at seeing something that is aesthetically pleasing and saying, yes, I agree that is aesthetically pleasing, but I'm not very good at creating that out of whole cloth, basically. I don't have that. That's just not part of who I am. But if you need me to program something, I could do it. I got that engineering brain. Solve a technical problem, I'm there. Solve an artistic problem, you need to find someone else. Wyoming, your kids do, you don't. Yeah, and you know what? You know, I find you know, broad brushstrokes, I find that women and girls tend to just have that artistic capability a bit more. That's a weird Freudian slip. Don't mean that. Yeah, like the ability to just see things differently. My wife being incredibly artistically inclined with her sewing work and theater work and all the rest of it, has always been able to do that. When we did the bathroom remodel, she'd ask me, I go, oh, what do you think about these colors and these colors? And I'd just be like, I don't know. Once you put it all together and we build the thing, I can look at it and say, yes, that looks good. But until that happens, I'm just going to kind of stare blankly at it and not be able to answer that question at all. But I'm okay with that because I can solve those other problems. And that's how we know we all have a purpose to play and a role that is unique unto ourselves, where we can fit into the larger scope of whatever it is, family, community, church, society. We can play a specific role and everyone can benefit from it. Hey, Scholar General. You're not too late to the stream. We're about halfway through bag 2. You know, I'm doing about 2 bags a stream. It's only just now 9:50, so by the time I get done with this bag, we might just chat for a bit. We are opining about many things, one of which is wishing we had more time and money, which is the one thing everyone wants more of, and no one can have. I'd argue I'd always choose time over money, though. Time is the one invaluable resource. Wow, that is really cool looking. I didn't know what I was building in these instructions. I know it's hard to see on screen. It didn't look like anything until I reoriented it, and it's a chair. That's really cool. Cool chair. And the architectural feature around the windows is really cool as well. I think this is going to be like a great hall with all the shields and everything. This is again a very clever use of pieces to solve the problem of making a wooden looking medieval chair, and using pieces I never would have thought of to make legs is really cool. Always and routinely impressed by what Lego designers can put together. I don't think it's a throne, I think it's a dining chair. The board is set, but where's the feast? Yeah, that's right. The kind of tile layout of the floor makes it look like it's some sort of dining room. I think there is a throne room somewhere in this set, though, because there is a queen. What it looks like, I don't know. I've really tried my very best to not have any of this build spoiled for me. True to form, you know, if I'm doing Lego stuff, I actually don't pay that close attention to like Lego YouTube channels, but they are a really good source of information as to like what is coming out, and because Lego is really good, or is pretty tight-lipped for unnecessarily long periods of time about what they're going to be releasing, and so you get, like anything, you get leaks and sneak peeks about what could be coming out. And I actually use that as a method to kind of determine what I want to buy and what I'm going to skip. Because I can't afford everything. Even though I'd love to. Again, time and money. And some things I would buy strictly for investment, but that's kind of rare. For the most part, I'm buying just because I would want to build it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And 4 more. So that's about the only time I watch Lego-based YouTube videos. Is just knowing what's out there, or what's going to be out there in the not-too-distant future. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Ah, there it is, 16. Okay, it's a lot of pieces here that I got to use to build this table. So I'm going to move this to the side, put this in frame a bit better, and start building a cloth draped table. And again, this is one of the cool things about what designers can do with square pieces of plastic. Like, they need to make a table that is draped in an elegant, ornate cloth. So how are they going to do it with little plastic bricks? And yet somehow they use all these combinations of pieces to do exactly that. And it's really cool. I have in my brain something that I want to do as a design. I have to figure out, I have to figure out how to do it. And then spend some time in the stud.io software to design it. But I think if I were successful, I would probably design and then build it. I'd go find the pieces and build it. And that could be potentially a pretty interesting stream or series of things to do. Would be to design what I have in my mind and then take it all the way through to end product. Maybe even post it on Lego Ideas. You wish modern furniture is all hardwood, but it's a little too expensive and hard to sustain at the scale of our modern population. Yeah, this desk is about the closest I can get to hardwood that I have in front of me. I actually do have a couple of antique pieces in my house, mostly in my library, that are actually solid wood. But yeah, you're very, very hard pressed to find anything these days that isn't some sort of laminate press board type thing. I think this table in parts are solid wood, but not all of it. Some parts are not. You think it'd be fun to look at my designs and design process? Well, yeah, I will say that it would be something that I have not flexed in a long time. The last time I did anything that was that type of design was back in high school, where I had to think kind of like an architectural standpoint. And I would certainly suffer from the issue of how to make it aesthetically pleasing. But I also think that's where it'd be fun to do some like programming streams or something like that. Because I have a video game idea in my brain as well that I'd love to spend time doing. But the problem with those types of streams with me is that it would inevitably be a bunch of me looking up sample code and tutorials on how to do something in Unity, basically. I don't know, that'd be highly interesting. And it's funny that some of the things I'm really good at, I don't think are actually compelling. And, live streams tend to be pretty pretty well oriented towards the video gaming space, at least for dudes. So here's the table. Wooden underneath with scroll work at the ends, tablecloth that hangs over it, centerpieces, and a goblet. And that will fit right there. I like this basically kind of becomes a dollhouse effect where you kind of move from thing to thing. What a lovely shade of pink. Yon heraldry from days of yore reminds me of a simpler time. Yeah. Like I said, all of these shields. I know that this one is the very first Lego medieval shield design. I guess these other ones probably are as well. I'm not as certain about that. But getting heraldry to adorn the feasting hall is a good idea. Each their own little scene. It's pretty cool. I guess I'll go ahead and say, I mean, I was being kind of coy about it. I don't know if that matters much. The thing I have in my brain is I want to do a Lego drive-in theater. So do like, you know, the frame for a big screen and a projector room and a snack bar and parking spaces and that kind of thing. But my idea to make it unique is kind of a twofold, really. I would want to do a water tower as part of the landscape of the entire setup. That is like behind everything, kind of in like a tree line, so that you could have some minifigures who would be sitting on top of the water tower watching the video. And the second feature would be the screen itself being large enough for a 10-inch tablet to slot into it, so that you could then have a tablet playing movies, probably the Lego movie, as the big screen. That's my idea. And I'd love to execute on it at some point. Now, I have a general idea for how I'd sketch out the layout and all of that. So yeah, I think that would be cool. The other one that I have, and I've actually done some work on, but it's more conceptual than like an actual set, is a haunted bridge using the Pepper's Ghost effect. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's using mirrors to simulate a halfway transparent. I just dropped a piece. I don't know where it went. So here we go, hunting for the piece. There it is. You know, partially transparent. Made most famous by the Haunted Mansion ride at Disneyland and Disney World, where you have the ghosts that are dancing in the Great Hall, and you can see through them. That's a Pepper's Ghost effect. And I actually did a very, very early conceptual version of it, which I could probably pull up. See if I have it on hand. Probably be easier to pull up. Let me find out what I named this thing. Can't do it there. So I'll come do it over here. Wyoming, you never have to apologize for that, man. That's as we just talked about, that's the important thing to do. going to see if I can find this. If I can find it, I can put it on screen. But basically, I want to do a trestle bridge and turn it in, like, that's kind of the concept, just a trestle bridge, but I want to do a thing where you slot a cell phone into it to create a Pepper's Ghost effect. And I did that. Can I share this to myself? I can and I will. Alright, so let's pull that up here. And I will switch over to the screen share. Is there a way for me to... Not really. That's unfortunate. What happens if I do this? That is way too big. Oh well, I'll just do it this way. Hopefully everyone can see the video here. But yeah, it's a Pepper's Ghost effect. So it's kind of inside the Lego thing. And it's hard to see in this video, but you can actually see behind the ghost. So you actually have this depth effect where the ghost is actually there in the middle of everything. But yeah, that's the effect I'd like to try to do a design for as well. Because I think it'd be a really cool thing to do. Alright, let's get back to the other view. But yeah, it'd be like a haunted trestle bridge. And the idea is that you'd build a canyon of sorts that the bridge would cross over. And then the bridge itself would be made out of a lot of brown pieces to simulate wood. It would have all the angles and slats and everything. There'd be obviously a covered bridge, and it would be a single lane road covered bridge. But then the trick would be, you could do it either at the top of the trestle piece, which I think is where I would do it. Basically, the top of the trestle would have a part that would slot out, and a phone. You know, I've got my phone in a case, but a phone outside of a case is really only about as wide as a single brick. So you'd have a slot that you could slide the phone into, and it would kind of hold it and nest it. And then an app that you could turn on that would project the ghost. And the way the Pepper's Ghost effect works is, if you imagine this black piece as being a piece of clear, shiny glass, and then it's at the camera. If I'm directly onto the camera, you're just going to be seeing through it, right? You might see a reflection of what's behind it. Depends on lighting. But if you tilt it at a 45-degree angle, let's say this way, and it's clear, then you can see through the glass because it's clear, but you can project with something that's got light from the top, and it would bounce it towards the camera, and that gives you the ghosting effect. So that's how it would work, is when you're looking through the trestle bridge, there's actually a piece of very clear and clean plexiglass, essentially, that you aren't really recognizing, and it's then having this thing projected on it. And that's the other thing I want to spend some time designing. Just looked up the Pepper's Ghost effect. That sounds like you're getting me into the Halloween spirit a couple months early. Going to do a Stargate theme for Halloween this year. That's cool. You should go look up the Warcraft Portal that someone made for Halloween. Probably find the video and chat it. It's one of the coolest things that I've seen in a long time. I actually saved the video somewhere, so I should be able to get it pretty quickly. Because I saw it and was like, I want to make that at some point, or something like it. I think it was Warcraft. It might have been something else. No, this is it. For those who like to get into the Halloween spirit and do something really over the top, I will chat this video. Go check it out. It's pretty amazing. Some really talented people creating that. Yeah, so, Scholar, you said, do I plan on having lighting built into this set so you can view it in a dark room? Also, you have a haunted backstory for the bridge as well. Yeah, so, a couple of things. One is the primary inspiration. There's two inspirations for this Trestle Bridge, but I really have three. The immediate Lego inspiration is the Hidden Size series, which is a great series of sets that are all about ghost hunters. And it's actually an augmented reality game that was built in with Lego sets. This was a couple of years ago. And I literally bought every single one of these sets because they're amazing. But there's an augmented reality game that was tied to it. It was just a very interesting theme. And that's kind of like within the Lego universe, that would be the inspiration. Within the general inspiration of the set itself, being like a trestle bridge, there's actually one of the America's oldest trestle bridges is in Georgia, about an hour and a half from where I live. And my family, or myself and my wife, visited it with my daughter as like a road trip one Sunday. And it's just, I find them both beautiful and kind of scary. So that's kind of the reason for the Trestle Bridge. And the other one is, in the game The Secret World, which is one of my all-time favorite MMOs, there's a segment of that game where there is a haunted bridge. And so I'm kind of combining those things. I'll note, as someone who does not actually believe in ghosts, I love ghost stories, so I am infinitely fascinated by those kind of haunting type stories, even though I don't believe in it at all. I still find it great and fascinating. So I'd have to kind of create a backstory and try to give echoes to it. I think the general backstory would be, and this is tying into the hidden side theme a bit, that maybe it's the bridge itself is kind of a portal to the other side. That would explain the ability of cycling through the various ghosts, because the hidden side theme has like tons and tons and tons of ghosts, and I would want to be able to use all of them in the app. And I'd say in the app I would build. I actually built the app. I already have the app working. I would just need to actually build the set to utilize it. What you were seeing in that video was the app that I designed, or that I made. Real basic Unity app. It's nothing real special, and it'd have to be made better to be super useful. And yeah, I just basically used the models from the Hidden Side game that Lego created. So I would, I'd do something like it's a portal to the other side, and it's where ghosts are coming through. As kind of the theme. Although I'd probably have some kind of a reference to maybe someone having hung themselves from the bridge, because that was the theme or the concept from the Secret World video game. You were crossing the bridge trying to uncover the mystery of what happened to someone, and then the bridge is haunted and a ghost comes at you, and it's actually legitimately scary. It's like a bit of a jump scare in the game. But then you find out that it's basically like someone committed suicide there. And, you know, it creates this kind of eerie, haunting feeling to it. The problem is that suicide is a very heavy theme to directly reference. And I would be very cautious about doing that for obvious reasons. It's about the time that you always have to note that, you know, if you're having those types of thoughts, go seek out help. There are prevention lines out there, etc. But yeah, I would really, you know, at the end of the day, I just want the set to kind of be reminiscent of the Hidden Side. The Hidden Side takes place in a town called Newbury. So I'd probably have like a sign that says "Welcome to Newbury" or something. Like it's kind of like the entrance to the haunted town, something like that. I think that would be a really cool theme, like a really cool set to put together. So, and like I said, maybe that becomes one of the streams, or a couple of my streams. Is maybe after this set, I spend some time doing that and talk through the design process and what I'm thinking, and get real-time feedback from everyone. That could be potentially very useful and interesting. But what's really cool about the stud.io software that designs all this is that then it does an immediate check as you're designing to tell you if there are any parts that are not actually available. Like you can't use a piece of a certain type of color that actually doesn't exist. I mean, you can, but then you wouldn't be able to build the thing. But what's really cool about it is you can then generate a parts list and go buy all the parts and basically go immediately build the thing when you buy the parts. And I have a secondhand, you know, big reseller of Legos near where I live that I can literally just take a list there and dig through their parts, spend a like couple hours doing that and get the vast majority of what I need, more than likely. Although building anything out of brown parts is one of the hardest parts, because brown Lego for about a decade were some of the most fragile pieces, and most of them have broken at this point. Scholars can't do anything with computers. I'm super impressed by anyone who can program. It's kind of like dark magic to me. Yeah, well, I mean, I went and got a degree in it, right? Like, I understand software because I'm a software engineer. So, solving a software problem is easy to me. I'm not super well practiced at it necessarily, but it's pretty easy. All right, so check it out. Let's make some space here. I need to do like just a tabletop view here. So let's duplicate this view. I already have that. Building Lego 2. All right, sweet. Hopefully everyone can see this. Whole table space here. Get it in view. So yeah, this is the whole castle, all put together. Or at least this floor. And this is what it would be like if it's spread out thus far. But what's cool is it folds in and creates a more, and it actually has a cool latch piece here. It's kind of hard to see. Let me actually do this. Camera 2. Let's go, camera 2. This way I can get you neat views of everything. So I got my hinge pieces, but what's cool is right down, where is it? Right here is a little clip piece on the side, right here. And it clips into, come on, focus, this piece right here. So when I close this, It actually holds it shut. Like that. So this is the view thus far. Let me zoom out. Sorry to make everyone motion sick. This is the view thus far of what I have built and the angles around it. And you know, it looks like one solid building now. You can't see the inside unless you open it, except for this little area down here. You can see this area, but the lighting is bad. I actually have a light right up here that I'm not using that I could use, I suppose, to get a better view. Super bright. There we go. So there's my little hideaway space with a trap door up top that can open down and a ladder. Here are the stairs going down to the wellspring area, which you can kind of see there. There is no chimney, so major architectural fail. I got my water wheel here, which I can turn. Wrong way, turn it this way. And you have the little peg showing the water direction. When you open it, it keeps the water area in the same area, and that's pretty neat. Like, you actually have a little bit of a waterfall going into the water well when it's closed this way. So you have that little bit of a waterfall feature. But then you open it up and you have the harpsichord room. You have the little, this was the very first room we built, the little baker's kitchen area, which is directly across from the mill. And then above that, you have the dining room, dining area. So, as what we've gotten done thus far, that is bags 1 through 8, 9, 9. And there's like 20 some odd bags in this, so we're probably about maybe a third the way through at this point. Let's see. Wyoming says a lady in white, possibly. Yeah, going back to the set that I would build, the Haunted Bridge set. Yeah, we'll go to just chatting. I would actually not want minifigures as the ghosts. Generally speaking, with the Hidden Side theme, with a couple of exceptions, the ghosts were always purely virtual. Should still have the app on my phone. This is the actual app. Right here. And the way it would work is there's two modes. There's a ghost mode and a hunter mode. And the hunter mode, you actually choose one of all of these sets that existed. And they had everything, like haunted lighthouses, haunted fish boats, etc. And if you have the set in front of you, you could, it's like an AR game, augmented reality. You scan the set and it builds a virtual environment around it, and then you are the ghost hunter with your phone looking for ghosts. The other mode is the ghost mode, where you play as a ghost and you're haunting things. And so it's a 1v3 game. You have the single player ghost hunter is the good guy, and you have 3 players being ghosts, and they're trying to bring up a haunt meter, and the hunter is trying to capture all the ghosts. That's how it's played. And they have a lot of really cool ghosts. So, like, they have really basic Lego ghosts, and they all have names like, I kind of view it as very much like Haunted Mansion style names. Nagging Nathan, Wild Thomas, etc. But you get to some crazier ones, like here's Ted Big Buns Bixby, who is a chef. And then you get some really crazy ones, like Creatoru, which is this insane-looking, like, diver who has a harpoon gun and has a bunch of anglerfish, like, latched onto him. Or giant, scary teddy bear named Mr. Nibs. And think about this for a moment. This is Lego sets for kids. And this is what the nightmare that is showing up. Oh, I'm not even showing people. I should not have such failures. Hang on, sorry. Let me go back to all of this. Here we go. I talked through all that, through on my phone. I was too busy looking at my camera. So, Hunter and Ghost. Hunter, you choose one of these many sets. And when you choose it, you do augmented reality. And I don't have one in front of me, so I can't scan a set. Or you play as a ghost and you're haunting things. And these are the ghosts. And like I said, they have basic names like Nagging Nathan or Wild Thomas. And then here's the chef guy, right? Big Buns Bixby. And like there's tons of them. You can see these dots down at the bottom. These are all the ghosts that I have unlocked thus far. And they all have unique skill sets. Here's a Madame Digamberto or something like that. It's kind of like the opera singer lady. But then here are the scary ones. This is Creatoru, which I was just referencing. Anglerfish on a deep sea diver. Or the scary teddy bear Mr. Nibs, which is a very, very scary teddy bear. And as you play, it's kind of like Pokemon. You're unlocking characters. All of these, there's actually a show series that a lot of these characters show up in. This character is actually a bad guy that becomes a good guy. So, kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing. Oh no, my camera just turned off. It didn't like me not recording. Thank you, economy mode. You know, just lots of neat little ghosts, basically. But the thing about the Hidden Side sets is that, for the most part, they didn't do ghosts. They did possession. So the ghosts were always three-dimensional digital characters that were strictly in the app. But then you had Lego figures that had a standard version and then the alternative version, which was them being possessed. And then there was like this kind of like Cthulhu-esque application you'd put on them. And I'll go pull over or pull up a set so you can see what I'm talking about. Pull this over here. Go do the screen share. So here's Hidden Side. Here's the About. So it's AR app. You build the Lego set like this high school that looks like a normal high school until you pull a couple things and then like it turns into like this big monster looking thing. It's kind of hard to see in these pictures. And yeah, you're capturing ghosts. Etc. etc. Let me see if I can find some sets. Is it you actually going to show me more than the one thing? Nope. So let's do like this is one of my favorite ones they had. So I'll go to Walmart here to get the picture of it. Oh gosh, what an awful website. Actually, this is a really cool one. I'll show you this one. It's a school bus that has been turned into a oh, this website's awful. It's a school bus that's been turned into like a ghost hunting vehicle. And here you can see what the possessed minifigures look like. And they have like normal versions as well. So like they'll have the same torso and pants, but then the head and the hair will be different. But then you'll swap it out for like these weird floaty like beards and hair and like clear heads. And like this porta potty here can get possessed as well, and like these top pieces will flip up and there'll be eyes, and then like parts of it will it's all very, it's this weird bizarre thing. And it's got this show. It had a cartoon series that ran for a couple seasons that were all basically internet shorts under the guise of like people live streaming their ghost hunting. Yeah, and so it's a very unique intellectual property, you know, and a lot of their sets were really, really cool. And the town of Newberry is like a portside type town, so you can think of it almost as being Lovecraftian in terms of its general aesthetic. You have this blend of like, here's a haunted lighthouse with, you know, the very standard brick built edifice of a high school that you can see that turns into a monster in it. Like it's the main entrance to the high school breaks open, its mouths, and these walls fall down and their claws and these eyes pop out. But then you also have things like the Shrimp Shack, where you literally just have like a seafood restaurant, but it can get possessed. But again, every single one of these sets has an AR game component to it and is recreated virtually so that when you're a ghost, you can go haunt the set. It's really, really slick. Maybe I'll find a way to live stream it just to show you. Not that I'm not sure. I'm not sure that many people are playing it these days, but still pretty cool. Yeah, anyway. I think it was one of the best themes Lego ever did. And it's really unfortunate that they didn't. They only did it for like 2 years, and they made, 20 some odd sets. Catching back up with chat. You can do human language, just not computer ones. Yeah. Nice harpsichord in the build. Does it keep getting taller with other bags? Well, it's building out and up. So far, my castle build is just 2 stories. Didn't even realize that Lego was doing all these AR games. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's not perfect, and they have been doing a lot of AR stuff for a while now. One of the themes that they tried to launch was incredibly unsuccessful. It was called Video, spelled VIDYO or something like that. Video, and it was like this. It was like this weird. So it's a minifigure collection type thing, and each minifigure was its own DJ or musician, and then those DJs and musicians had tiles that came with them, and the tiles were augmented reality, and they would the way it would work is the minifigure, you'd scan the minifigure, and it would play that minifigure's style of music. So it'd be like a country singer, and he'd be playing some country music, and then you would modify his music with the tiles, I believe is how it worked. And it was this kind of gimmicky thing, and it didn't do real well. So Lego kind of tries a lot of things, and they try to see what's successful, and then they move on. It's kind of how they operate. You mentioned Lady Wyoming because of the myth of how they come about. Yeah, true. Didn't even realize that you're actually making me think of like, because I was talking about the person who hangs himself off the bridge. It makes me think of the Haunted, not Haunted Mansion, The Haunting of Hill House series on Netflix, which if you haven't seen it is one of the best television series ever. Yeah, they didn't have these Ghost Hunter sets back in the day. This was 2018 and 2019 or thereabouts. Yeah, it makes you want to play Luigi's Mansion. Yeah, I love a good haunted house theme. So much so that I still need to build it, but I have this haunted mansion set that Lego made that I've yet to make. But yeah, I should go pull out a Hidden Side set and play a game or two. It's a pretty fun game. You know, it's made to play for like a couple minutes. It's got the gotcha component to it where, you know, you're just in many cases you're just rolling, trying to get a lucky roll to get an interesting character. As you unlock the characters and you gain pieces for them, little like pips for them, you can level them up, and it's free, right? Like you could actually, as long as you own one set, you could play this game infinitely, basically. But certain characters are easier to get on certain levels, so some characters are tied much more strongly to a specific set, but you can still get them eventually in the gotcha mechanic. And I am missing, let's see, that's 5, 10, 12, 40, 57, like 63 of these ghosts. Like there's hundreds of them, I think. There's a lot of them. But yeah, what I actually did for my proof of concept in that video, the Pepper's Ghost proof of concept, is I actually just extracted the game files because it's made out of Unity. It's a Unity game. And anything that's Unity, you can pretty much extract the data from. So I extracted the 3D models, re-imported them into Unity, made a quick app that would just display a single ghost on a black background to create the Pepper's Ghost effect. So makes me want to sit down and actually keep designing that thing. Maybe I should do that. All right. The only other thing that I have to talk about since we're done with our 2 bags, like I said, I'm going to try to set up this space a little bit better. I also have some ideas to make the stream a little bit more interactive and fun as we go. One of which involves this thing right here. Right here. This big old thing. So, it's not that big actually, but it takes up enough space. I have an idea of how I'm going to actually use this as something fun for chat, potentially. But likely, eventually, I would end up tying it to donations or something. Again, as I expect that eventually this channel will grow, I'd want to eventually make it an investment cycle. Generally speaking, the way that I operated the channel forever was any money that came in via the channel through either donations, Patreon, or ad revenue, I would feed back into the channel. I'd buy new equipment or that type of thing. And I'll likely do the same thing with, you know, going on into the future with the channel. I've, to my knowledge, I have never actually taken money that came in from the channel and pocketed it. It always went back into the channel, and it'd probably be the same thing. But I'd like to eventually, you know, open up the stream for like donation opportunities and whatnot. And I have an idea for how I can make that a little bit fun, because I wouldn't really ever ask for money, generally speaking. But if it's offered, I'd want to actually there to be something for that, even if it's not super tangible. Scholar says, think it'd be cool to see the bridge set at some point. I'm working on it. I definitely I need to bring it over and do the design. I actually have back here. I bought this classic base plate to actually do the design on. So I don't even know what this is from, honestly. But old sets, way back in the day, used to use this type of base plate. It's this kind of cheap, flimsy molded. They break real easily. So Lego moved away from that. They moved more towards what you see with this set, which is like you build up rock faces and whatnot, right? But I actually bought this for my proof of concept So this would be the little valley, and I'd build the bridge over it, and then a phone is just about the right size, actually, to slot in that space there, more or less. But like I said, if I did a trestle bridge, it would have the roof over it, and I'd likely have a place to slot the phone above it. That would be the most convincing Pepper's Ghost effect, because you would never have a chance of seeing the screen of the phone that way. So this has been in my mind for a really long time. It really has. According to Wikipedia, the first ghost was in 1990. By then, I was at college graduates overseas getting shot at. The first ghost. Oh, the first ghost in a Lego set. Yeah. I was like, pretty sure the first ghost was before that. I spent so much I spent so much more for videos than I can ever get out of it, but at least some companies let me review their swords and then return them. Yeah. You know, if you're doing a channel with the expectation of making it profitable or a job, you really have to do cheap content. And that's where like the clickbait thing really comes in. That's really a lot of times it's how you know a channel or a channel owner or a channel personality, a YouTuber, has begun to adopt their channel as a job is when they start doing the easy stuff. The most clickbaity thing I think I've ever done on my channel was collaboration stuff, because they were topical, and I tended to not do topical videos. And I've only done a few collabs, really, but not a lot. But most of what my channel was about was like, I'm going to unbox this sword and give my initial impressions, or I'm going to review this sword and give my in-depth impressions, or I'm going to take a risk on a mystery box from a sword company and see what I get. Or I'm going to do a deep dive on a specific aspect of a sword. But as far as I know, and someone can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I've never done an actual like easy peasy clickbait, like let's just talk about a thing because it's in the pop culture, right? I've definitely done like a movie review or two, but I wouldn't consider that to be the same thing, because I would have watched the movie and formulated my thoughts, and then it's less of like again, I'm going to pick apart this fight scene in Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones is currently running and people are watching it, and they're going to go to YouTube and look up Game of Thrones, and then they're going to maybe see my video. So, to me, that's always been an indicator of when someone is actually shifting from it being a passion thing to like a monetarily beneficial thing. And part of why I wouldn't go as full bore into doing sword reviews again as I was in the heyday of the channel is just because of the expense of it. I back when, you know, I had no kids and I had more disposable income, it was easy to do. Not so much anymore. You know, you see your channel more as a research repository than a steady income source. Yeah. And like I said, everyone comes to YouTube for different things. Some people come because they just want to dabble, right? If I could spend a year making a video of a super high quality, I would prefer doing that than making, 50 some odd videos in a year that weren't of a high quality. But my bar of high quality is also going to be dependent on what the video is about, right? If I am behind the camera recording something, I'm going to be very, very specific about how I'm shooting it and want to get a nice color and lighting on it and do it right. Not so much point and shoot. But at the same time, part of what I enjoy about this process is just kind of being on camera as a personality, I suppose. I'm just not a very entertaining personality. I think that's my problem. Like some of my favorite YouTube personalities to watch are just amazingly fun to watch. Right? They're humorous and they're they crack the right jokes and that kind of thing. I don't really know that I'm that type of personality, and a lot of them tend to use a medium or a backdrop that plays a little bit more into that type of interaction. Lego doesn't really work for that all that well. You're just kind of building a model. So it's a little bit more laid back, and I'm okay with that. So again, mostly it's just hanging out with people online. It's cool to see the regular people in the chat too. Scholar General in Wyoming and all the rest of them that come through. So, all right. Yes, Wyoming kids do drain you of monetary resources. It is true. Not just directly, but indirectly too. Because I never thought too much about life insurance policies and all that type of stuff until I had kids. And it was like, oh, I needed to get those types of things going as well. What I had was enough for when I was just, had a wife, and it'd be enough. But now I got to think about kids and supporting them if something were to happen to me. I still have plenty of the disposable income, as evidenced by the fact that I buy ridiculous Lego sets, but it is definitely much more pick and choose now than just I'm going to buy every single sword that I come across, All right, well that got us to about 10:45. We got through everything. I had a chance to chat. I have it on my to-do list to get a couple things ready for live streaming being a little bit better. Especially getting maybe some emoticons and stuff like that. I will do that eventually. Scholar says, yeah, I don't think I have the best YouTube personality either. I have a couple people tell me I have an ASMR voice. I still understand that world. I don't feel like catering to it. If you pay off the house, you don't need as much insurance. Yeah, paying off the house tied to investments, right? There's so many things, but... Yeah, that's going to be it for the night, I believe. I'll be jumping back on tomorrow night. Taking tomorrow as a vacation day, actually, from work. So I'm going to try to take care of a few things around the house and have a bit of fun before everything descends back into work mode. But, I hope everyone has a good night, and I will see you all on the next stream.